For the longest time, I've been using the 60% unbranded gaming keyboard that honestly just got me through the day. It worked, it typed and played games, most of the time. But it always felt like something was missing. The keys felt stiff, and sometimes it even missed keystrokes during intense moments. And when you spend hours playing or editing, you start noticing every flaw. So after a year of sticking with the same budget, no-name keyboard, I finally decided it was time to try something different. Something branded, something reliable, something that actually felt like an upgrade. So I went out and picked the Redragon Dragonborn. Their 60% keyboard with hot-swappable red switches and customizable RGB. And the moment when I unboxed it, it already felt like I was holding something totally different. The construction felt solid, the build quality felt intentional, and everything from the weight to the texture of the keycaps made it obvious that this wasn't just some random generic board from a plastic supplier. It actually felt like a proper mechanical keyboard made for gaming and long sessions. Before I plugged it in, I noticed how clean the layout looked. It's a true 60% design, meaning you only get the essential keys, 61 of them, and absolutely nothing extra. The Redragon looks minimal, compact, and organized. It saves a ton of desk space, which I need, especially for editing on the side and playing FPS titles where the mouse movement matters. Once I plugged it in and those RGB lights came on, that's when I started to understand the difference. The lighting is clean, bright, and surprisingly customizable for such a budget board. It comes with 13 light presets, and the speed and brightness can be adjusted without any software. With my old keyboard, the lighting was uneven and flickery. Sometimes it would randomly turn off. But here, everything felt stable and intentional. It's one of the small quality improvements that you feel immediately, even before you start typing. But of course, the real test with the mechanical keyboard is the switches. The Dragonborn uses Redragon's own red mechanical linear switches. And compared to what I've been using before, this was a massive upgrade. They are soft, they're smooth, they're quiet, and you don't get that scratchy feeling you normally do from cheaper switches. For typing, it feels effortless. For gaming, it feels fast and responsive. I didn't realize how much unnecessary force I was using on my old keyboard until I tried this. Suddenly, every key press registered with the lightest touch. One of my favorite features are that the switches are hot swappable, and this was something my unbranded keyboard definitely didn't have. That means if I want to experiment with different switch types later, maybe brown switches or even blue, I can just pull them out and drop the new ones in without soldering anything. It makes the keyboard feel future-proof, and for someone trying to build a long-term setup without wasting money, this matters a lot. I also noticed how consistent the stabilizers felt. On my old keyboard, the spacebar sounded hollow and rattly, like something was loose inside. Here, the spacebar is surprisingly stable. The sound is cleaner, the feel is more controlled, and even the modifier keys don't wobble like they used to. It's not a $200 premium board, but it gets way closer than I expected for the price. Typing on it for the first time also felt like a different experience altogether. The lettering is clean, the keycaps have a slightly textured feel, and each key press feels predictable. With my old keyboard, some keys felt mushy, some felt more raised, and the sound was all over the place. This one just feels uniform. Even when typing long paragraphs, my fingers didn't feel tired or strained the way it used to. It's one of those upgrades that you only understand once you buy it. Smooth switches make a better difference than you think. The lighting also deserves a mention because I was genuinely surprised by how clean the effects look. The colors blend nicely, the animations are smooth, even on static colors, it looks premium. It gives the keyboard character without making it look childish or overly bright. My old keyboard had a cheap single color light that looked the same no matter what you did with it. Here, the lighting actually adds personality to my desk setup. Another detail I also noticed with this keyboard is that it feels heavy for its size, which is a good thing. It doesn't slide around when you type or game aggressively. It stays planted, and you can tell it's using a decent internal frame, not a hollow shell. When you press down on the case, No creaking, none of that cheap plastic feel. It genuinely feels more expensive than what it costs. Using this keyboard for gaming was honestly where it impressed me the most. The linear switches feel incredibly responsive. Every movement in my game, every ability key, crouch and jump, everything feels immediate. My inputs felt sharper and more consistent. And for someone playing with a tight budget, this is one of the best upgrades I've made in a long time. The compact size also keeps my posture more aligned. My mouse hand doesn't need to stretch out and my keyboard sits more naturally in front of me. This sounds like a tiny improvement, but after a long session, you realize how much these small changes matter. And then there's the sound. The Dragonborn has that soft, quite linear sound profile. It doesn't have that loud clicky noise unless you choose switches that are like that. For me, this is perfect. It gives me the mechanical feel without making too much noise, and it works well for recording voiceovers later. Compared to my old keyboard, which sounded like plastic tapping on more plastic, this is a huge improvement. After using the Dragonborn for a while, I realized something. This upgrade wasn't just about switching keyboards, it made my entire setup feel more complete. It made typing and gaming more enjoyable, and most importantly, it reminded me how much small upgrades can boost your workflow, mood, and motivation. When your tools finally match the effort you're putting in, everything becomes more enjoyable. And that's something my old, unbranded keyboard never gave me.